The boy protected the poor girl on the bus. A week later, a Mercedes pulled up in front of the school. A bus ride during rush hour can be unbearable. Andre, an 11-year-old boy who had to take the bus from his home to school every morning, knew this. The boy always sat by the window listening to music on his cell phone. He'd been given new headphones for this purpose by a single father. Unfortunately, his mother had already died. At this time of day, it was always the same people who rode the bus, hurrying to work or going about their daily obligations. But on this day, among the familiar faces, the boy noticed a woman. She was wearing a uniform, and on her chest was some kind of badge. Andre was fascinated. He loved everything that had to do with the military, but then it occurred to him that the woman would simply be a controller. "Dear passengers, please show your ticket," the woman finally said. So it was. Andre was disappointed. People glumly pulled their crumpled tickets out of their jacket pockets. Others rummaged in their pockets. Andre knew his ticket was fine, so he was in no hurry. The woman walked a short distance away from Andre and stopped next to a young, modestly dressed girl. When the inspector asked the strange girl to show her ticket, the shy girl smiled sheepishly and shook her head. The inspector raised her head and asked in an irritated voice, "What do you mean you don't have a ticket? Then you have to pay a fine. I'm sure that if you go to a concert or a movie, you won't forget to buy a ticket." Natalia, as that was the young woman's name, replied, "Excuse me, but I can't pay the ticket or the fine because I don't have any money. If I had the money, I would have bought the ticket. The thing is, I don't usually ride the bus, and this time I left my wallet in the car." You could see that this was an unfamiliar situation for her, and she was concerned. "I know people like you very well. You're just rude and always use the same excuses that you have no money and forgot your wallet. No money? Stay home. It's as simple as that, and now you have to pay the fine," the inspector said arrogantly. As Andre followed the conversation, he put his headphones in his backpack and looked pityingly at the girl, who was reprimanded by the controller. She even began to curse and threaten the girl that she could call the police and detain her until they arrived. The boy could not sit quietly and watch. So he got up from his seat and approached the inspector. He offered to pay the girl's fine. He didn't have much money himself, but he couldn't stand the situation. "This is all my pocket money. That should be enough to pay the fine," Andre said, and handed the notes to the inspector. She was very gruff at first. "Mind your own business. Do you want to pay for everyone who wants to ride for free?" the inspector asked him sarcastically. But Andre remained firm. Finally, the inspector took his money, and Andre paid no attention to her sarcastic remarks. He handed over the money, put his backpack on his shoulders, and got ready to get off at a stop. To the boy's surprise, the young girl followed him. "Thank you. That was very kind of you. Everything I said is true. My car broke down and I left my wallet in the glove compartment. Don't worry. I will pay you back. What's your name?" said Natalia, touching Andre's shoulder. "That's not necessary at all. Don't worry. My name is Andrei Palenkovich," he said. But the girl wanted to thank the boy. Andre could not know it, but despite her young age, she was very rich. Natalia was very impressed by the teenager's kind attitude, and she decided to repay the favor in kind. Natalia saw the school the boy had gone to. At home, the girl researched on the internet and found out through social media that her rescuer on the bus dreamed of becoming a soccer player. Being the successful businesswoman that she was, however, Natalia had noticed the deplorable conditions of the school's soccer field and was sure that it would be very difficult for Andre to train in such conditions. The school's sports field was in dire need of renovation. After careful consideration, Natalia decided that it was only fair to help Andre realize his dreams. Natalia's business was running very successfully, and she did not have any financial problems, so she could afford these expenses. Natalia still remembered the time when her business was building up, and she had to save. She rarely bought new clothes, and this habit she kept until today. Instead of showing her wealth, she preferred to keep a low profile. Unfortunately, she was not successful in her personal life. She was tired of constantly running from one date to the next and never finding a suitable partner. Everyone always wanted her money. Natalia finally began to implement her plan to renovate the school, contacted the school director, and transferred a large amount of money to the school for everything that was needed to be renewed. But even that was not enough for her to thank Andrei. She wanted to give him something that would always remind him of his noble deed. So, Natalia bought the boy a soccer jersey and also prepared an envelope with money in it. Inside was an amount 10 times the fine paid. Although it was not much money for Natalia, she knew that Andrei would be very happy about it. When Andrei left the school, he saw a luxurious black Mercedes from which, to the boy's surprise, got the stowaway for whom he had recently paid a fine. Natalia smiled and handed Andrei his gifts. "Why are you giving me all these gifts and so much money? I can't take that," said the boy, who was embarrassed by Natalia's generosity. But Natalia would not listen to the boy and insisted that he keep everything. When Andrei showed his father the gift, at first, he said he didn't believe his son's story. But then the boy told his father that he had spent all his money to pay the fine for the strange woman. Finally, the man believed his son because he knew how extraordinarily kind his son already was at such a young age. A few months later, Evgeny, the boy's father, visited a soccer game at his school. He was surprised by the renovated sports field and gym. Nobody knew who had provided the money for it. There were only rumors that a wealthy lady had invested in the school because her son wanted to study there. Natalia also came to the same game. She wanted to surprise Andrei. But the letter hardly recognized Andrei, the woman for whom he had paid the fine on the bus. She looked very elegant, though not at all ostentatious. He ran up to her and thanked her for the jersey she had given him. He had no idea, however, that all the changes at the school were also Natalia's doing. The girl replied with a smile, "I'm very grateful that I met you. You showed me that there is still good in people. You were the only one who helped me in a difficult moment when everyone else turned away." At that moment, Evgeny approached and saw his son standing by the young woman. "And you must be Natalia, whom my son has told me so much about," he said, smiling. Natalia smiled at him as well, and when she looked into the man's eyes, she was already smitten. She had no idea that Andrei's mother had died in childbirth, and Evgeny had to raise his son alone. All three continued their conversation and made their way to the nearest cafe. There, Evgeny and Natalia talked continuously. A kind of sympathy developed, and perhaps also more. Evgeny was a little older than Natalia, but she noticed in him a confidence and strength that she had rarely perceived in her admirers, who were only after her money. When father and son returned home that evening, they were very pleased with how they had spent the day with Natalia. Being in her company felt right. Natalia and Evgeny soon decided to meet again, and after some time, they fell in love. They entered into a relationship with each other, which also made Andrei very happy. He had grown fond of Natalia. The boy had no way of knowing that the girl he had once paid for on the bus would soon become a member of his family. She was a loving and caring mother to him. Soon, Evgeny proposed to Natalia, which she happily accepted. In the following years, Andrei had another sibling whom he adored from the very beginning. He kept recalling the incident on the bus, which could just as easily have gone differently. If he had decided against giving all his pocket money to a stranger, Natalia would never have become part of his family. This shows once again that only one right decision in life is enough. But what would you have done in such a situation? Give away your own money for a stranger, or just stay out of the situation? Feel free to leave us a comment.